Today's reading is from Isaiah 58, verses 9 through 12. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, Here I am. If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom be like the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. You shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt, and you shall rise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in.
Those lovely words. They actually came from Dolly, who we are here to chat with this morning. And there's water and microphone, all the things we might need. So what made you choose that scripture for today?
The first time I think I heard it was at the Sierra Service Project when I was lucky enough to go. And it was a really horrible hot day down there. We were painting and found some shade. And this they had for a noontime scripture. And it just was like oh, whew, a breath of fresh air is really nice.
For this morning, which we haven't heard yet, but will. Do you want to give us a preview on those?
I think the title is Sister, Let Me Be Your Servant. And the words of that song just always have hit me that it's easier to be a helper than the helped, I think, for me anyway. And it's just because it's in music, I remember it really well, and it's a good message for us.
Yeah, and so we're both robed today, and I saw you came down from the choir. How did you get up into the choir? What drew you to sing in the choir?
I think we first came here about 20 years ago during Wayne Dalton's time, and we were kind of church shopping at that time, and our brother and sister-in-law were visiting, and we kind of chose at random and went to the door, and there at the door was Wayne Dalton. And I said, "Are you the Wayne Dalton that I knew at Redlands, University of Redlands?" And he said, "Yes." And he was the baritone of all baritones at Redlands. He was understated and calm and doing his voice major and living there on the campus when I was a freshman with his wife, Louise, and I think they had kids then. And he was a life-changing experience for me then, and even when I arrived here. So that was, I thought, if Wayne Dalton is here, boy, this is going to be a place to be. So I really was hoping after shopping for churches that to be anonymous. That's what I really was after, to be sitting in the back row and just be anonymous and listen. Well, you don't be anonymous here very long, I discovered quickly. And Bill had a really good college friend Hank, who was in the Hank Adams, who was in the choir. So it just kind of progressed from there. It was me and then he, and then I wasn't ever anonymous there again.
Wow. And so you talk about this kind of faith and attitude of service, and How did that all begin? What was your faith like growing up?
Well, I thought about it today and I realized that I was never baptized. But I was christened in those days. That they did that
Oh.
in an Episcopal church when I was a baby, and then when then we went to a Presbyterian church where I grew up because it was a new church and our best friends were there. That wasn't a philosophical choice, but that's where I grew up, in a Presbyterian church. So my mom and dad were both very active in the church as officers, and we joined the church. That's just what we did in 8th grade. All my friends, we just did that, and it was a pretty moving experience for me. At the same time during those years, I really wished that I was Catholic or Jewish. It was a time when we read Anne Frank, and my Catholic friends, there was just so much more drama and mystery, and and the Presbyterians just didn't have it in that same way. But I stuck with it from there.
Yeah. Did you ever find the drama or the mystery in your faith?
Well, I looked for it. I really wished for a burning bush or some drama that would just assure me that this was indeed something. And I never really did, except in community with other people and through singing in choirs all through college. And that was kind of a turning point, I think.
Yeah. And I know we're going to have a Earth Day Sunday service coming up right after Easter, and you've been involved in that. So can you give us a little bit of a preview of that, or why you felt called to take part in it?
Well, I think one of the really nice things about this church is when people take charge of something and we can follow. And then people like Linda Dre Nightingale, who can not follow Linda, who cannot join her. And what was meaningful for me, if I didn't feel the initiative kind of involvement, was to rub shoulders with people who did. And that has really affected me through the years. I just feel very influenced by people here.
Yeah. Are there other women, you mentioned Linda, that inspire you either at this church or out in the world?
I think about my favorite is Rose Bader Ginsburg. And I just, one of the difficult things was hearing in the movie and the book and her life, wondering where I was at that time when she initiated all that she initiated. So I felt a little bit of, quite a bit of disappointment, really, when I began to really learn about her and the timing that she, when she was so important in those early days. And so that was a real gift, I think.
Yeah. And now you are part of the International House at Stanford and helped to organize the International Women's Day. Is that right?
Well, in general, I volunteer a lot over at Bechtel with the spouses of the international community who are here as sort of the secondary persons with the graduate students. And so I really have been moved to be with them and to help them find their place, which they really, really do. And we've never celebrated Women's Day here. I don't think I knew about it before that time. So it's really impressive to be around women, especially young women who are really in touch with history and in touch with people who have influenced them. So we were with them kind of as they planned the International Day, and it was a big deal. Not so much in the last 2 years, but certainly it has been.
Yeah. And what do you like to do when you're not doing choir, social justice, all the wonderful things that you do here?
Not very much else. I really like connecting with my neighbors and connecting with people that mean a lot to me. And so I have some international Zooms that have persisted, and I like to make things. And when the art team was active, that was a really important thing for me. Also, I wanted to just recall the sort of the combination between art and the social justice is that we were really active when the Mesters were here. And that experience really taught me a lot and challenged us a lot to be helpful, but also we became really mindful that sometimes the kind of help we had was not what they wanted. And that surprised me at first, because why wouldn't people want what we wanted for them? And because we thought it was good, but we had to really mix what we thought would be helpful and between what they were able to do. But it was life-changing because of them and their story, but also because of the relationships that formed among those of us who were really involved. We really learned a lot about each other at that time.
Can you share a little bit more about that and who these people were for those who are newer to the community?
Oh my, they were, I think it was Slovak, correct me if I'm wrong, a family, an older man and his wife and a son in his 30s who happened to walk by this church and come in, and Lindsay met them and they wanted to be painters. She first thought they wanted to paint the church, but it turned out they were refugees from very difficult home situations in Eastern Europe. And they were they were professional painters, as you can see. Yeah. So we voted as a church to have them do this. It was not always welcome, but it was really spirited. The vote and the drive was spirited by a young family. So it wasn't just us, it was churchwide. So they stayed, I think, gosh, maybe 1 or 2 years, and they didn't want to be totally connected to our system. We thought it would be a very nice system to connect connected with, but they had a lot of reasons that wasn't their path. They were really independent, but we shared a lot of music, a lot of laughs, a lot of culture, and a lot of trips to social service agencies that didn't pan out. And I think they were also painters up at the Catholic Church up in the valley. They had painted quite a bit there, so they kind of migrated from there to here. And there was one day that we went to the beach on a beach cleanup, and Katya, the wife, went along with us. And if you could have seen her and the freedom that she felt at the beach, just looking at the ocean and sitting and helping us pick up papers. And I think I can't help but hope that was life-changing for her. And they also participated in a Halloween celebration. They helped kids paint, and they, they did participate with us for a while. So it was a learning experience.
Yeah. One of the interesting things I'm picking up from this story is that so often someone comes or you ask for help, and there's a very prescriptive way that takes place. And what I'm hearing from you is more of the nuances of the struggle and the what will this look like and the conflict, but yet both parties stayed in relationship.
We did.
And so I think that's one of the gifts of Ladera, is that you can be independent and not have to fit a certain mold, but you can still stay in relationship with this community and church.
Yeah, and that was a challenge too, because it was, they weren't at all prescriptive people.
I don't know of many of us who are, so it gives me hope for sure. Well, how do you talked about the beach and this feeling of openness and love and spirit, and I'm curious to know, where in your life do you get those moments, small or big?
Well, I think I get a lot here among people here. I get a lot of good feeling about the collaboration together with individuality, and for me, it's from collaboration that I really find meaning in being connected here. And being in the choir, we can look out and look at all the faces. It's really a privilege to be sitting up there and look out at you all. And I just remember special moments of when, before COVID, people would come up to get communion, and we could look at every face doing that, and know that we all knew something about every single person who came. And it's very family-like in that way.
Yeah. What are some moments that you enjoy about your family? Can you tell us a little bit about your family?
Well, our son was kind of, when we joined, there was nobody here that was his age. And he did, I think, sing a solo. So he's a musician now. So his musical life is a real gift to us and to others, I think. He teaches at Eastside College Prep, which is a school that's for kids who are underrepresented in our university life, a high school across the bay. And they have never been given music lessons like every kid in Menlo Park has been given. But he really found their musicality and draws upon their musicality, and has them bring music from their parents that they learn to sing and play in the little tiny band that they have. So that's been a really big gift for us. And in reggae, he plays in a reggae band as well, and with some other singers locally. So.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about your faith or favorite hobbies that you have?
I think that my faith is really connected with music, and in college, it was a Baptist college, so we sang sacred music one day a week for kind of a chapel service, and we had a lot of scripture music, and so I found that I remember those songs. That's how I've learned. Whatever scripture I've learned is through singing. So I remember a lot. It's kind of odd, really, but I won't forget that. And so there's something, what's the word? Not psychic, but something that happens with the combination of music and scripture. And it's when it's sung, I really feel doubts go away. I really feel connected to that literature that we have every week. And learning some Latin and knowing the Latin mass by heart. You know, we know the words now after singing different masses. And growing up, I never knew a mass. So now I know masses. So I think my connection is largely through music.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing your voice with us, be it in the choir or just speaking out loud now. So thanks for being part of the community.